So, as you may or may not have heard, defense decided not to put up a case today in Brian Walshe, and they rested. So, what does this mean, and why did they do it? Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a criminal defense attorney, specifically a public defender, and I, like many of you, have been watching the Brian Walshe case the entire time it's been on, and before that. So, why would the defense not put on a case? Well, here's the thing. Okay, now they're in the middle of the charging conference right now. I'm watching that, and we're going to see if they include lesser included charges. But as of right now, the only charge before the court is murder one. Okay, so I went and I looked up the pattern jury instructions that they were going off of for murder one in Massachusetts. And for murder one in Massachusetts, you need a malice aforethought, which is an intent to kill, cause grievous bodily harm, or act with extreme indifference to human life, which is basically depraved heart. And an additional thing, okay? One is deliberate premeditation. Two, or extreme atrocity or cruelty, which means that the crime involved extreme brutality, which an example of that would be torture or shock to the victim system. Or three, felony murder. Okay, felony murder is when you're committing another crime and a death results as a result of that other crime, right? Or during the commission of that crime. So felony murder is out, right? That's not one of the ors. Extreme atrocity or cruelty is out too, because we don't know how she necessarily died, right? So extreme atrocity or cruelty is out. So the only real thing that we have to go with for first degree murder is malice aforethought and premeditation. So the Commonwealth has to prove both of those things, right? I could see someone making an argument for extreme atrocity or cruelty, but again, we don't know how she died, right? There's speculation on what happened after she died, but we don't know how she died, right? We don't know how if you want to say he murdered her, we don't know how he murdered her, okay? So really we're talking deliberate premeditation and malice aforethought, all right? So in the defense's eyes, did the Commonwealth prove those things? I don't think so. I know on Melanie Little's live yesterday they did a poll and 70% of the people watching the channel said 70% said not guilty. So, did the Commonwealth prove malice aforethought and deliberate premeditation for murder one? So, in the defense's eyes, do they need to go on and muddy the waters? Do they need to put on additional witnesses that might say something that might show premeditation? Do you run that risk? I don't know. Certainly, I would have loved to hear from Buchanan. I said that in my video this morning, that I expected Buchanan to testify. They provided a witness list that had experts on it, had Massachusetts State Troopers on it, they had Proctor on it. I certainly expected today to go with testimony from the defense, but they made an executive decision that they don't need to add additional evidence to the case because they don't believe the Commonwealth proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I don't believe the Commonwealth proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt, so I can see certainly why they did not choose to put a case on. Brian chose not to testify. I think that was a smart move. Now, the problem, though, there is that Larry Tipton opened with Brian finding Anna deceased upon waking up. There was no evidence of that came in, though, right? Brian's the only one who could have testified for that. But, again, with no evidence of how she died, whether from Brian's mouth or anyone else, it's going to be hard to prove malice aforethought and intent to kill, right? Because there's really been no motive shown or deliberate premeditation, planning, even briefly with full consciousness of intent. Let me know what you think about the defense's choice, and I'll update you guys on the charging conference and whether they include lesser included, like murder too. All right? Let me know your thoughts. Enjoy!